What's up, Totem Pole Nation? Welcome back to Lambo and Matt's World of Sports. Today we are getting into the preview of the Final Four in both the men's and women's NCAA tournament. It has been electric so far. A lot of favorites moving on. Definitely some upsets in the men's side, less on the women's side, but we have 2 3 seeds and 2 1 seeds in the Final Four over on the women's side, and that's where we will start today. But before we do that, make sure to visit TotemPoleNation.com to get your gear, support the boys. Shout out to Sideline Sports Network, as always. If you wanted to drop a follow to any of our socials scrolling across, please do so. And if you have ideas about what we should talk about next, make sure to hit us up there as well. Let's get some engagement going. Without further ado, let's get into the Final Four right now.
Okay, well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been mainly paying attention to these games, obviously, but more on the women's side. The women's side brings excitement. You have players, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and I know the teams are no longer in the tournament, but just the excitement. The LSU and Iowa game brought about almost 13 million viewers. Like, oh my goodness, I was watching that game. UConn and Juju and Paige Buckners, that brought some matchup as well. I think it was great. But Friday's matchups, right? Because we have Friday games for the women, and then the men's game on Saturdays. The championship game for the women's on Sunday, and the men's game is on Monday. Just in case y'all don't know, I want to start off with the NC State versus South Carolina. NC State men's team is also in the Final Four, so you don't see a lot of teams. I think NC State and UConn, I think, are the first 2 teams that have men's and women's in the Final Four. You don't see that. UConn is not surprising, but this is tough. I don't think NC State women's is much of a threat to South Carolina due to the experience of, Dawn Staley. I'm going to give me South Carolina against NC State. I think NC State may make it close, but that depends on make shots, that depends on defensive stops, and that depends on how many turnovers you have. Because you have more turnovers, obviously you're not going to win. Give me South Carolina to beat NC State.
Yeah, I'm with you, and it's no disrespect to NC State because obviously, being that we support an ACC school in Virginia Tech, we've watched NC State play a lot, and they're a tough group of girls. I'm looking at my bracket right now, and I had them going to the Final Four. I kind of expected this. They're nice. I knew they were nice. And it doesn't surprise me that they're here. But my prediction is, along with you, they're not getting past this South Carolina squad. They run like a 7-girl rotation, which is cool. Virginia Tech does a similar thing. But they're going to play against South Carolina, who's got 9 deep of players that could be, game changers at the Power 5 level. And that's led by their center, who's what, like 6'7"?
Yeah, I think it's the girl that's going to the WNBA, I think she declared for the
Yeah,
I think she declared for the WNBA.
So my point is, when it comes to NC State, if they were able to keep up with shots made and everything, like you were mentioning, like what they needed to do to win, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up when it just comes to fouls. They're not going to be able to keep at least, if they run a 7-girl rotation, they're not going to keep 2 of them, or I guess only have 2 of them go into foul trouble when that game is going through the paint with their elite center, but can also get swung out. Like, there's just too many opportunities for fouls to happen. And when you run a 7-man rotation, it really limits what you can do. So I love that NC State did it, showing up for the ACC, but it ends here. South Carolina is going to take care of this.
All right. The matchup of Friday, Iowa versus UConn. This is going to bring tremendous viewership.
Oh, yeah.
Caitlin Clark was supposed to go to UConn, but the coach never showed up and never seen her in open gym is what it came out with. Never visited with the family or anything. So I have a feeling and this might be personal. Now, if you want to go to your imagination, imagine Paige Buckners and Caitlin Clark on the same team. Oh Lord, that would be problems. That will be history made without any question. I'm very surprised that Iowa. What's up, Golden State Warriors fan? I'm very surprised that Iowa made it to the Final Four. Not made it like to the Final Four, but like beat LSU. I thought they didn't have the team for LSU because I thought LSU had the size last night. They was playing a 1-2-2. They was mixing some zone, and they was feeding the paint. But the game was tied, and then LSU just lost the momentum, and Caitlin Clark became Caitlin Clark. LSU did not defend Caitlin Clark well. Not expecting them to because she's hard to guard. But if you really watch basketball, if she goes right, that means she's gonna go layup or pass. If she goes left, she's taking the shot. They didn't have the correct defenders on her. Haley Van Lith had some trouble. When it comes to UConn, they gotta have a game plan for Caitlin Clark because if Caitlin Clark played the way she played against LSU, UConn is gonna be some trouble. Who do I choose between Paige Buckners and Caitlin Clark? I don't have an answer. Maybe you can give me the answer. Give me UConn. And I think this game comes down to the final possession. If it plays out correctly, it will play down to the final possession. UConn has been there before. Iowa has been there before as well. They lost the championship game, but I'm going by UConn with more experience. They've been there multiple times. Give me UConn. I'll say they win by like 1 or 2 points.
Got you. I think I'm going Iowa here. So here is the thing. Both of these teams obviously have the number one option being their point guard, and that's Caitlin Clark. That's Paige Buckers, or as she's most commonly referred to as Paige Buckets, because that's all she does. But both teams have number two options as well. For UConn, Aaliyah Edwards, she put up 24 last night. And then for Iowa, another guard alongside Caitlin Kate Martin, she put up 21. It's really going to be in this, I think, what can the supporting cast do? Because we saw what UConn did to Juju. Now, Juju's a freshman, right? She's going to develop. She's going to mature. She's going to, eventually be taking better shots or be better at making those not as good shots like we see Caitlin do all the time. They held her to a pretty bad shooting night and limited her impact enough to pull out that dub. But I think when it comes to this, it's a whole nother animal that you're dealing with. And likewise for Iowa to Paige and what they have to do defensively there. So I think this game is going to come down to a lot more of what the support cast is going to do, because if it's available, I'll go bet it right now. Paige and Caitlin are going to have like 30, right? I think they're going to battle. They're going to go back and forth. Before Caitlin Clark became Caitlin Clark, Paige was her. Before that injury, Paige was her. She was supposed to be in these shoes. And not saying Caitlin doesn't deserve it at all. She absolutely does. Most points in college basketball ever. So nothing taking away from her there. But Paige is a dog too, and we can't forget that just because Caitlin has been getting all of this warranted attention. Definitely warranted. But they're going to battle, and it's going to come down to the supporting cast and what they can add. Because I agree, this is going to be really tight. I think Caitlin and Paige both put up like 30 plus, and we're going to have to see what those number twos and number threes can do.
And
but I'm going Iowa.
So you go Iowa, South Carolina. I'm going UConn and South Carolina. So forget it. Let's say South Carolina, Iowa makes it. Who do you have?
I gotta go South Carolina, dude. I would bet like my rent money on South Carolina to win. That's how much I believe it. They can kick me out of here if South Carolina loses. I think that this is one of the most dominant basketball teams that we've seen at the collegiate level in a very, very long time. I mean, their close games end up being like comfortable wins for other teams. Like I was out the other day and I checked my phone to just see what South Carolina was doing because I really didn't have a thought that they were going to lose. And it was kind of tight. And I was like, damn, what's going on? And then I go back and check and they win by double digits. So even their, like I said, even their like close games are comfortable wins for other teams. They're probably the most dominant team we've seen since the Stewie teams with UConn that were,
Yep.
3 in a row national championships or whatever it was. I think since then, this is probably the most dominant team I can think of. So I love Caitlin. I love what she's done for women's basketball. I think Iowa, like their head coach as well. She's awesome. But she's not leaving college with a ring, I don't think.
Well, I'm going to predict South Carolina and UConn to play for the championship. I think 2 powerhouses will be great for college basketball. An undefeated South Carolina and a 5-loss UConn. UConn has been there before. It's very, very tough. It's very, very tough for me to pick UConn versus South Carolina because if that happens, because it's hard to bet who's going to win because South Carolina has players. UConn has players. You're talking about 2 of the best coaches of all time when it comes to women's basketball. Like, you don't bet against Dawn Staley, but you don't bet against Gino either.
Yeah, you can't bet against Gino, dude. You can't.
It's tough. I won't have a prediction. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not going to have a prediction because I don't know. I wouldn't even – I'll be scared to even put my money on South Carolina, right? But I'm also scared to put my money against UConn. So if South Carolina UConn happens, don't put your money on it. Don't put the over. Put whatever amount of points they score, put the over. But don't put the money line. Don't put the spread because you just don't know. You don't know. You ain't going to know until the final buzzer. But the women's is going to be great. The championship game is on Sunday. The Final 4 games on Friday. Now going to the men's. The men's. Purdue versus NC State. I've tried to tell you since I've been to the ACC tournament, I watched NC State develop. I watched them grow. I sat courtside watching DJ Burns, watching McConnell. They got a great point guard. Kevin Keatts' job was on the line. I mean, he was about to get fired. And then they win the ACC championship. They beat Duke twice. They beat UNC. And he got a 2-year extension with a bonus. Oh, man, I understand Purdue has Zach Edey. He's so tall. It's hard to guard the man. He's like a Yao Ming as far as height. I'm not going to compare him to Yao Ming as far as basketball skills because, Yao Ming was Yao Ming. He was great. But just size-wise, Yao Ming. Give me NC State in this game. Talk about the transfer portal, right? NC State got to the transfer portal and got some dogs. Transfer portal. DJ Burns, then he played at Withdraw, and then he played 3 years at Tennessee. So if you're getting those key guys and you build it together, that chemistry, it's hard to double team DJ Burns because when you double team the man, he can pass it. When you single team the man, he can post up. My only issue with NC State is how do you get Zach Edey out the box? Now, I don't think that's an issue because they did the same thing against Duke with Filipkowski. Not comparing him, but the way you do when you're on offense, you foul the best player out. Filipkowski got fouled out twice in the ACC championship game, and he got fouled out last week. So if they somehow try to get Zach Edey in foul trouble, right, they have a chance to win. But it's going to be hard to shoot over that man. It's going to be hard to shoot over that man. Give me NC State. Give me NC State by double digits against Purdue.
Oh shit.
Double digits.
Oh man. God, I really want to be with you on this. And like in spirit. Yeah, exactly. In spirit, I'm with you, dude. I'm all the way with you. But the confidence level and I love the vending machine, right? I love the man. But where he is 6'9" and 270 or whatever, like he's a tackle. He's gonna be backing down and battling with someone who's like a legit 7'4". That's ridiculous. And the football style of offense that he plays, whether you like it or not. That's how he plays. He goes shoulder first. He uses his size to his advantage, as he should. This is the first matchup where that guy that's going to be on the receiving end of that is going to also have those tree trunks as legs. Like, he's not going to, like, Filipowski, tall guy, super tall guy, this thin, right?
Yes.
He's skinny as a rail.
Yes.
Edie's not. He's grown as a basketball player, and he's grown physically, and now he is 7'4" and just thick, all like not fat, but just big. So that football style of play that they run through Burns, I don't know how confident I am that that's going to continue this stretch. So I want to be with you, but I think I'm going to go Purdue here. Let me look at what the spread is, because I can almost promise that I will be taking the NC State spread. 8.5. All right. So
Well, then
NC State keeps it within 8.5. I think that's fair. I think they could lose by 8 for sure. But I don't know if I have them winning.
Okay. Alabama versus UConn. Alabama, transfer portal, again, transfer portal is important. 4 guys from the transfer portal. He's lost 3 assistant coaches and made the Final Four. And he was a former high school coach, as you've seen film back there. But look at UConn and Dan Hurley. Everybody was talking back in 2020. They lost to Villanova. Dan Hurley said, "Oh, if you get us, you better get us now.
Get us now. Get us now." That's so cold.
And look what's happening.
Yeah.
Look what's happening. Look, UConn got to blow Alabama out. The reason why I say that is because Dan Hurley said it again. They suck at close games. They're trash at close games. Just look at that game against Illinois. I thought Illinois was going to compete with them. You're talking about it was tied at 23. They were down by 5 at halftime. Illinois just couldn't make a shot for anything, and getting beat on simple transition defense, and the game was over.
They ended up winning by 25.
Yeah, because they didn't score in 15 minutes of real time, and then they didn't score until 12:39 in the second half. Alabama got some dogs. They got some transfer. They can shoot. It's hard to go against UConn. UConn has since last tournament has won by at least double digits. They have to win by double digits. I'm not saying they can't win a close game, but Dan Hurley said they do suck at closing out games when they're very close. So they have to be dominant and they have to blow out. Both of these teams, transfer portal, very important. They got that point guard Spencer. I think he played at Rutgers before he came to UConn. Transfer portal. Now I know UConn does not have the number one recruiting class like Duke and Kansas, all of them had, because I did a recruiting video on them. They were like ranked 33 the last time I checked. But they could be the first team to win back-to-back Final Four since the 2006-2007 Florida Gators team that had Joakim Noah and all those other guys in the past. Yeah. They have a chance to do it. Give me UConn. It's hard to bet against UConn. My prediction would be UConn, NC State in the championship game. UConn wins back-to-back.
Yeah, I'm with you. So here's a little, like you said, they're not as good in close games. They haven't played in one yet. Let me give you a little bit of information about the games they've played so far. Now, obviously, as the 1 seed, they have an easier road. That is how the bracket is made, all right? So you can't blame them for who they're playing. And obviously, their offenses are not going to be as good as this Bama offense they're about to face. But let me just read this off. Round one, Stetson scored 52 points. UConn put up 91. Not really worried about the 16 seed. Next, though, Northwestern only put up 58. Next, San Diego State put up 52. That is a good defensive team that allowed 82 points. Sweet 16, Illinois only put up 52. In every single game, they have not allowed their opponent above 58 points. They have not allowed someone to score in the 60s. That faced up against a good offense, but a fast-paced offense that produces a lot of turnovers, and when they're not on, misses a lot of shots. I think Bama wins this. UConn wins this by double digits. I don't think Bama might keep it semi-close in the first half.
They can't stop Klingman, that tall dude. They gonna be able to stop him. They ain't gonna be able to stop him.
They're not going to be able to do a damn thing in the second half of this game. All right. And to be fair, when it comes to UConn and Bama, this matchup, we've all seen the video of Dan Hurley saying that like his practices are harder than the games. So, by the time the second half comes, they can run all the scrubs off the court. I don't think Bama is who he's talking about in that case, because this is a very fast offense and they are also a very well-conditioned team. So it's not going to be so much like the difference in who can last longer. We see teams just, we just talked about it in their last game. They didn't score for like 12 minutes. I don't think that's going to happen with Bama here. But I think, we get to the 12-minute mark of that second half. UConn's just going to click another gear. I think they're already going to be up at that point, but I think they stretch the lead. UConn wins it convincingly. We've got 2 1 seeds going against each other, and UConn and Purdue. And if you think I'm betting on Purdue in a championship game over UConn, you're on something, brother. You're on something, brother. That's not in my life. I will never make that bet. So give me UConn to go back to back.
UConn has a chance to go back to back. We'll see how that goes. That championship game we played Monday, very late game, very 9:00 game. That is so late. I know it's so late for certain people, certain old people. That's so late. A 9:00 game that ends at probably about 11:30, and you got the women's game that starts at least 6, 7 o'clock. So women's Final Four games will be on Sunday. First game's on Friday, and then championship game on Sunday. Men's Saturday, and then championship game on Monday. And then it's sad that college basketball is over. March Madness flew by so fast. It wasn't even funny. It flew by quick as a dog. And then that's it. It's just sad. But don't take this for granted, because Caitlin Clark's going to be out. Angel Reese is going to be out. Paige Buckner's will be done. There's going to be some top dogs.
She's coming back, I think.
She's coming back? Okay. She got one more year, probably due to the ACL injury, probably
COVID.
Kobe year. So I forgot to say that the Kobe year. So so don't take those players for granted. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and all the other players around the college, women's college basketball. It's a great sport to watch. I prefer to watch that than the men's. I'm not saying the men's is bad. Please don't cancel me. But women's college basketball is different, and it's more of a vibe. But we want to thank you, Totem Pole Nation. Like, comment, subscribe. Get this merch on TotemPoleNation.com. We want to thank you, Silas Whatever, for the platform. Y'all have a great day. Please take care. Go UConn.